Hello everybody on Facebook. I'm about to film a Facebook Live with Rob Pender. He is a hyperbaric oxygen specialist, but I wanted to do things a little bit differently with this episode. Instead of beginning the Facebook Live as I begin recording the audio podcast, I wanted to start the live a little bit early so I can show you the actual room where Rob does his hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Look, here's Rob. Say hi. Hi Jason, hi Damon, thanks for joining us. So here's the tank. Look at this everyone. This is a hyperbaric oxygen therapy tank. It's Rob sitting in front of it. Because like I said, we're about to record this latest episode of Health Hackers with Rob, who is a hyperbaric oxygen therapy specialist, and he's going to be with us for the next 30 minutes. So I'm going to sit down now and position this camera so that you can all see Rob. So if I put that there, you can see Rob, you can see a bit of the tank. This is the microphone that I'm going to be using for the audio podcast, which I'm about to start recording now. So if you see me looking down a lot, it's because I'm keeping an eye on the audio recording to check everything's okay. So, Rob, are you happy to start the audio podcast?
I'm fine, ready for you.
Okay, so let me hit record and I'll do my little intro and then we can get going. So this is episode 15, which is already gone so fast.
Wow.
Thank you for having us in here. You squeezed us in between clients.
Yes, always busy.
Anyone famous coming in today?
You're
probably not allowed to tell us, are you?
I can't tell you.
All right, we'll start.
We try and treat everybody the same.
Yeah, everyone's equal.
Yeah.
Everyone's equal when they come and see Rob. Okay, so welcome everybody to Health Hackers episode 15. I'm Gemma Evans, and this is my series devoted to getting inside the minds of some of the most pioneering figures in health and wellness. Today I am with hyperbaric expert Robert Pender at his centre in London. If you're listening to the audio podcast, check out healthhackers.uk online or my Facebook page, which is Gemma Evans Broadcaster, to see the video version of this episode. And then you can get a look at the hyperbaric oxygen tank inside the clinic where we are now. Rob's with us for the next 30 minutes. So if you're watching on Facebook, ask us a question. I'm going to be looking at all your comments and questions. We'll be talking about hyperbaric oxygen therapy. What is it? Who has it? And why? If you're watching live on Facebook, maybe you want to tag someone who could benefit from listening to this Facebook Live. So Rob, let's begin. Let's go back to basics, okay? So it's been a while since I had a session with you, a hyperbaric oxygen session with you. But when I used to post about it on social media, there was always interest. People always wanted to know what on earth I was doing lying in a tank. Can you outline for us what happens from the moment a client comes through the door? What's involved in a hyperbaric oxygen therapy session?
Okay, the first thing when the patients come in, I obviously do a consultation with them. I get a medical background, history. I ask them very important questions about their health, if they've had a history of brain seizures, if they've had a collapsed lung, if they've had a perforated eardrum, things that can affect putting people through an oxygen hyperbaric session. I then usually take their oxygen saturation, checking that they're saturating oxygen well in their body. If they have a low reading, then I start looking at the possibility of respiratory problems or heart problems, that they're not taking in enough oxygen. We take blood pressure and heart rate, and then we actually scan the patient's ears. Even though if a patient says that there is no problem with their ears, they don't get any problems when they're flying, we don't leave it to chance. We actually do a proper scan of the inner ear, and that is photographed and videoed.
So then at what point do they get in the tank?
After all that, they then go in the tank, and then explain to them why hyperbaric compared to ordinary oxygen in the air which we have just now, which is 21%. What's the difference having oxygen hyperbaric in normal atmosphere? And it's quite simple, threefold.
Okay.
It's anti-inflammatory because under pressure, any inflammation in the body, if you've got an injury, if you've overtrained and you've got lactic acid in your
Just
limbs,
moving the microphone closer to you.
any part of it, any sickness in your body, if it's fatigue in the mind, there's inflammation there, that actually can slow down the circulation in your body. So first thing, under pressure in an oxygen tank, inflammation is anti-inflammatory. The second thing that happens in the oxygen chamber, because oxygen is a gas, and under pressure, gas dissolves very rapidly into fluid. So body fluids, hemoglobin, plasma, lymph fluids, then are saturated with oxygen, and that is then delivered around the body, and the parts of the body that's been having less oxygen because of injury or sickness then gets the boost of oxygen. And thirdly, it raises the white blood cell count, which builds up the immune system and helps fight some chronic diseases.
But that's a lot to take in. So,
It is, yeah.
Somebody is lying in a tank,
Yeah.
and they've got they've got a mask on. So you wear a mask, you lie in the tank for about an hour,
An hour in the
and
tank.
you're inhaling. Is it pure oxygen or is it about 90 something?
95.7.
95.7% pure
Pure
oxygen.
yes, medical
and
oxygen.
typically we would be taking in 21%.
Normally
in normal air.
Normal air, yeah. And we can raise the amount of dissolved oxygen into the bloodstream under hyperbaric conditions. So it's better delivery of oxygen.
Okay. And where did the treatment come from? Because I know it has something to do with deep sea diving.
It probably went back even further than that. I think it was 1632, believe it or not. It was,
to be precise?
To be precise. But it came to light mainly in the diving industry, when divers had the bends and they got air, gas, embolism, bubbles in the bloodstream. And the only thing that could solve and cure this was hyperbaric. And while they were doing this, treating this brain insult because the air bubbles cause brain damage, they suddenly realised if it can help people with the bends, with brain injury, why can't it do some other things such as stroke recovery and so on? And so things developed from there, found that it could heal wounds quicker than normal.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it's all fascinating. And I know that the research I did around hyperbaric oxygen therapy, because like I said, I've had some sessions with you at your old clinic. I know that the NHS commissioned hyperbaric oxygen therapy for decompression illness, gas embolism and acute carbon monoxide poisoning, but people come to see you for all kinds of reasons. And on your website I've seen that you very clearly state the evidence for the use of hyperbaric oxygen therapy is not proven by randomised prospective controlled clinical experiment or trial. But that doesn't put people off coming to see you. Can you tell me more about the reasons they do come and see you?
I think the main reason people come to see you, they often come desperate, because they've tried the pharmaceutical line, and with the side effects of pharmaceutical drugs, sometimes they get, many of them work and work well, some don't. And so people now are much more, I think with modern communications, people research and look and are willing to try more. But if you look at general medicine, there are some drugs that are prescribed for Parkinson's, for instance, and they are licensed for that. Each drug on the market are licensed for a certain disease, but many times the GPs and consultants will prescribe them out of license. So they know that they've got a license for this drug, but it does help other conditions. And so although there is a license for treating people for carbon monoxide poisoning, for the bends, for problem burns within the NHS and approved, yet out with that, hyperbaric oxygen is now showing to help many other illnesses with great effect.
But this is, so you'd say anecdotally?
Yes.
Yeah. So the people who come and see you, why do they come and see you?
I think there's one that they're much more aware of, that oxygen really works, and they've heard stories from other people who've come along with maybe fibromyalgia, this type of thing,
right.
and recovered, and they've tried for years down the traditional conventional, and it's not worked. So they come and they went, wow, this works.
Can you tell us some of the conditions that you've tended to in here, the conditions that some of your clients have had that they've come to see you for?
Okay, fibromyalgia is one of them. Fibromyalgia is not a disease, it's a name that has been tagged on to an immune deficiency. It starts off with chronic fatigue, and then it goes on. People will say they've got lupus, then it comes into Lyme disease. It's a very big, wide area. And these people have struggled for years. They've been at the doctor's surgeries week in and week out. Nothing's happening, get no answer. And they've heard, hey, this hyperbaric oxygen seems to help. And we've had many stories from patients. And we say we do not cure. We just know that oxygen only can do good and can help the body fight these illnesses. And we've had many stories of patients come out saying, my life's been changed totally around.
Now tell me about your famous clients. Are you allowed to talk about your famous clients?
I can't mention them by name, really.
All right.
Maybe you could maybe mention Novak,
We can mention Novak.
He's a great advocate for hyperbaric.
So Novak has come here?
Yes, he has, yes.
And in which tank did he go in?
He went in that one over there.
That one over there. If you're watching on Facebook, turn the camera around. Novak went in that tank. What did he do in the tank? Because you can read a book in there, can't you?
He read, but mainly he just lay back and rest.
Are you allowed to tell us why Novak came to see you?
Novak has published and mentioned many times. He uses hyperbaric oxygen. He's got his own chamber now at his own residence. It's to aid his recovery in between tennis sessions. And also, if he gets injured, it can quicken up the healing by 30%, which is quite something.
But given that you say on your website that there aren't any randomised controlled studies proving the use, it sounds like a lot of athletes have got a lot of faith in it.
They've got a lot of faith in it because it works. In America, the American football and basketball, most of the clubs have their own chambers now, and they swear by it. Do any football teams from any maybe Premier League teams? Yes, we've had players come down from Newcastle United, Watford, Crystal Palace, just to mention a few of them. We also did an experiment 3 years ago when a team was struggling. They were at the foot of the table, and they noticed that probably the last 15 minutes of each game they were losing silly goals. Their decision making wasn't good.
In the last 15 minutes of each game?
Yeah.
So how does that relate to their oxygen level?
Fatigue to the brain.
Ah.
Right. And so we took these players, we had them for 3 months, and they came down 2 days per week. And on those 2 days, we gave them 2 sessions of hyperbaric per day. And we discharged them before the end of the season. And the performance coaches of the club noticed that the players' performance had gone up by 38% in average. And they were not losing concentration in the last 10-15 minutes. And it could be worth for football clubs professionally to look at this. You just have to look at Sky Sport as the results come through. In the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes, goals are scored. It's not because the legs are not moving, because the brain's slowing down, and oxygen can cure that.
Well, it's fascinating to hear the kind of anecdotal stories you have. I've got a question here from Dave. He left his question on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, by the way, put your questions in the comment section so I can read them out to Rob. We can't give any medical advice, obviously, but we can speak in general terms about hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Dave wants to know, is just one session or multiple sessions required? And what's the minimum amount of time spent in the chamber?
Right, one session you certainly would find a difference in your mind, in your brain, your thinking the next day. You certainly would find benefit. But it depends what you're coming in for. If you've been coming in for a chronic condition, then obviously it's going to take more than one session. I have a protocol that I've worked. I've been doing this now for just under 30 years, and 30 years experience. I am pretty well clued up on how many sessions it'll take for different conditions, and so from 5 for just the well feeling factor for say ladies want to make their skin look beautiful.
But does it really? I mean, does that work really? Can you get in there as 65 and come out looking 25?
Look at me.
How old are you, Rob? How old are you really?
I'm 75.
I want to go. Well, can it have actual genuine anti-aging benefits? That you haven't got proof of that, surely.
There has been some papers written on it. Your skin is your largest organ in your body, and your skin needs oxygen. Badly needs oxygen. You starve the skin of oxygen, and you get necrosis of the tissue, and you've got problems. It does help. We get quite a lot of plastic surgeons sending patients to us after they do sort of facelifts and so on.
Facelift? They come to you after facelifts?
Yes.
We are in a posh part of London, I can believe that.
Yeah,
they come in after a facelift.
and it speeds up the healing and gets rid of the scars.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, but how can they tell whether it would have healed faster without it? Because
I think the consultants know themselves, the patients, how long it's taking to heal, and then they're sending them for hyperbaric now, and they're going, wow. So those patients then will go and tell to somebody, I recovered in 2 weeks instead of 2 months. And then they'll say, he's the greatest surgeon, so that he gets more work in.
Oh, he gets the he gets the credit.
But we don't mind. I'm only interested in promoting how great oxygen is.
So here's something I'm interested in.
Yeah.
I recently snapped my collarbone in half, and thank you, Facebook viewers who've been asking how my shoulder is. It's feeling good today. I've just passed the 6 week.
And there's no truth in it that your new husband didn't do this to you.
My new husband did not do this to me. Do you know, he's not even a new husband anymore. It's been a year.
I know. No. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. But Facebook viewers who were asking about my shoulder, it's feeling okay today. Now, imagine if, I know you can't give medical advice, but if you had a broken collarbone and had an operation like I have with a metal plate and pins to fix it back together again, how many sessions would you have a week or a month? How would you deal with that?
I would have 3 sessions per week, and I would have 21 sessions.
In total?
In total.
Would that get me Premier League ready?
Exactly. It speeds up. Hyperbaric has got lots of clinical trials and data on the non-healing fractures. It speeds up the healing of fractures.
Well, I hope it heals, and if it doesn't heal properly, if there's a non-union, I've heard about something called a non-union. If that happens, then, well, I'm coming back for those 21 sessions.
Non-union fractures, hyperbaric is the answer.
Well, I'll hold you to that.
Yes.
Some questions about the price. How much is a session? Now, you don't have to give away exact.
Now you're asking,
hundreds or thousands.
You believe it or not, you're asking the wrong person. It's something I never deal with. I leave it to the other side of the business.
I can believe that, actually.
I really am not interested. Can I say something that's interesting?
Yeah.
We, as a clinic, we have a policy. We keep part of the money that we take in, and we hold back a special fund. If somebody comes in here and they cannot afford treatment, we can't do it to everybody, but we feel this is my heart. My heart's to help to heal people, not to take money from them. But being a business, you've obviously got to charge.
Well, no, I was about to say to everyone listening on the podcast and Facebook that when I used to see you last year for Hyperbaric Oxygen Therapy, there were clients that would come out and you would tell me how you had treated them for free, and it felt to me like you had nothing to do with the money side of the business because well, to be honest, you're too busy doing this part of business.
I just will not get involved in the money
So
side.
you do treat some people for free because, well, like you said at the beginning, I guess some people see you out of desperation. They've tried everything. Question here from Rob. Is there anything amateur athletes can take from the principles of hyperbaric oxygen therapy and apply it, but without the expense of paying for a session?
Oh, I would love to treat you all for nothing. The amateur athletic people, it's very interesting. 3 years ago, I took on 2 or 3 amateur athletes just to prove my point that hyperbaric oxygen can improve performance. I'll give you 2 examples. One lady, she was one of these crazy people who does multiple marathons, 10 marathons in 10 days.
Oh yeah, well we've had one of those on Health Hackers.
Yeah.
We've had an ultra marathon runner.
And what you got, the first year she did it, on her 7th marathon, she was walking rather than running. She was so sore. And it was up in the Lake District. When I heard about her story, I offered to help her, and we loaded her with oxygen prior to the event. Well, on the 8th marathon of the 8th day, she beat her best time, and the 10th marathon of the 10th day, she beat the record for a woman doing 10 marathons in 10 days. And then we had another.
I feel like this is the same person I've had on Health Hackers.
It might be.
I don't know whether to reveal her name in case she wanted to see you in secret. So
I don't know. And then there was another lady. She was a young mother, and her first marathon, and she found even training 5 miles was killing her. So we took her on and we gave her oxygen. And I've got a story somewhere there. She's actually written her story saying how without the hyperbaric oxygen, she was amazed. She just flew with no problems at all in the London Marathon. So it does work. I think, we may consider, I'm probably speaking, I'm not in the business side, I might get shot down with my partners for this. We may consider some special pricing for London Marathon people preparing for next year, if they're prepared to lodge their names into a sort of a trial that we can record. What you call it?
Because normally, on the price question, I think it is 100 and something pounds per session, and in response to Rob's question about whether there's something an amateur athlete can do at home, I guess there's no kind of mini hyperbaric oxygen therapy kit that you can get on Amazon.
Like they're soft chambers that are advertised, made in China and that. They're personally a waste of space. They don't pressurise, only up to about 1.2 bar. I think you've got to be cautious. Hyperbaric and oxygen is prescribed treatment. Yet many people use these soft chambers. You zip yourself into them. I wouldn't like to zip myself into if the zip didn't broke down halfway. How do you get out? No, so this is something I don't like them.
Yeah. Well, this is something people should be playing with.
Yeah.
And in fact, we've got some comments on Facebook from Donald, who's a bit worried about the danger factor, and he's also commenting that I shouldn't put my phone so close to the tank. Is that a fire risk?
Oh, right. It depends what kind of tanks you use. There is what they call free-flowing oxygen chambers, which are pressurised with oxygen, where they don't wear a mask. Okay. In those situations, you could not take a telephone into the chamber. You would have to put on cotton theatre clothes. Anything that would cause a spark would be dangerous. So in these intensive care chambers, which I have one in store, we don't use here, we wouldn't do. The types of chambers that we use, the chambers are pressurised with air, and the oxygen is fitted snugly onto the face, and there's very, very little oxygen, free oxygen flying around in the chamber. Maximum we've had a reading is 22% because we check it. And all the time, this air, it's pressurised and the tank has been circulated, so it's perfectly safe, the type of chambers that we use. We do not store oxygen bottles, or do we store our oxygen in liquid tanks. We use the latest medical oxygen concentrators from America. where we take the oxygen out, the air that's here, we filter it, and we put a high-grade medical oxygen into the chambers via the mask.
Question from Mike, isn't using hyperbaric oxygen therapy on athletes a bit of a cheat?
Stop breathing oxygen and they wouldn't be able to run at all. No, you cannot ban oxygen. It's perfectly normal, natural. It's not cheating.
It's not cheating. Well, I mean, it's all got to come down to who
decides
to try something out.
You're going to diet for athletes. Is going on a special diet.
Is a diet cheating?
Is a diet cheating? No, it's just using your common sense and taking advantage to natural healing, which is made available
because what is the oxygen actually doing? Is it increasing the flow of red blood cells so that an injury in a muscle or bone would repair faster?
Yes, okay. Exactly.
Question from Edward. Could hyperbaric oxygen therapy be used for somebody who's got lung damage from smoking?
Right, okay. First of all, we would make a thorough check on the lungs, and we would hopefully get some MRI scans, see what's in the lungs. Yes, it does help, but we would certainly say to the person who's been smoking to stop smoking. As I said previously, that we actually take carbon monoxide readings of our patients prior to them getting to the chamber. If they're smoking, it blows their mind to see how much carbon monoxide is in their bloodstream. We had one.
What, is it really high?
We had one lady, very famous person in the fashion world, and she went right off the scale, and she couldn't believe it. And I said, "You're crazy, crazy, crazy! Not just your lungs. What's that doing to your heart? You're killing yourself."
And she had a hyperbaric oxygen therapy session.
And she dropped down immediately. Her reading dropped down by 40% after one session. But she'd go back out and smoke.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is crazy. We did today. We had a young guy in, and he had a very safe reading of carbon monoxide poisoning just by walking around London. He was still in a very safe level. And even by putting him into the chamber, one session, we halved what he already had in his bloodstream.
In one session? That's one hour session.
And of course, this is licensed for hyperbaric as carbon monoxide poisoning. So we would love to do a clinical trial on this. I actually wrote to the Mayor of London, invited him to come in.
You wrote to Sadiq Khan?
And asked him, would you like to come in and try hyperbaric oxygen, as he's on about polluted air. I've done some samples of people out in the street who are sitting at the cafes at the street and their readings are high. Bring them into the chambers and their reading goes down. Hyperbaric oxygen could be used for people who have got severe carbon monoxide poison, even just smokers and people walking around the streets.
Yeah. I saw a video of you on YouTube being awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award for your work in international hyperbaric medicine. How many years have you been doing this?
29 years.
29 years. And so what will be next for you?
I don't know.
Or is this the dream?
My dream's here. My dream, I would like to think that in the next 10 years we'll have multiple clinics all over the UK with a very, very high standard of care, that each patient coming in will be monitored carefully. They will be given proper treatment and will be able to monitor and stack up case studies and put these into clinical studies to prove that hyperbaric oxygen is an authentic and a worthwhile medicine to go.
And and hopefully some more studies too, so that then
yes.
You've got the evidence to back it up.
This week we're off to Denver, my partner and myself, to Dr. Nur, who's the paediatrician who works alongside of us. We're going to the medical conference. Dr. Nur's doing a paper on Parkinson's disease and how general medicine and hyperbaric together can help the people with Parkinson's. Now this is
so you're investigating that?
Yeah. So the great thing at this annual conference, international conference, we get many top doctors from all over the world who will come with their experiences, and there is already more clinical recordings now. So hyperbaric's taking off now, but it takes time. We haven't got the money of the drug companies to do big clinical trials. That's the biggest problem.
Okay. Can you tell everyone where they can find out more about you and the clinic here?
The clinic...
or about oxygen therapy in
Oxygen
general?
therapy is just Google that. If you do go Hyperbaric Oxygen London, you'll find us there anyway. There's Hyperbaric Oxygen Therapy.co.uk.
And you're personally not on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook?
I'm on. I'm on Instagram now.
You're on Instagram?
I'm on
right,
Instagram.
I'm tagging you after this. I'm going to start following you.
I'm on Instagram.
What do you know what your Instagram name is?
Don't ask me.
You don't know what that
I'm
is?
an old man.
You can't be on Instagram without knowing your handle.
I don't know.
Well, I'll put it in the show notes, people. I'll put Rob's Instagram handle in the show notes.
And the clinic's also got one as well.
And the clinic, we'll tag them too.
And there's also one very interesting. There's a paediatric hyperbaric Instagram as well. Thousands and thousands of people with children who've had brain damage at birth are now reaching out to hyperbaric.
They're beginning to reach out to hyperbaric to see if it might.
And we are most fortunate. We have got not working in our staff, but working very closely is, in my view, the best paediatrician in the world is Dr. Nur.
It'll be really interesting to see what happens with these studies, to see how it can help people moving forward now. Thank you for talking to me today.
Thank you.
I'm going to add one more question in if I can,
Yeah.
because it might benefit people. I found that when I was having hyperbaric oxygen therapies last year, the day that I had the therapy, that night, I slept like a baby. Why would that be? Did I imagine it?
No, because your brain has got more. The brain's not tired. It's not been given you a life, and the brain just relaxes more when it's under no pressure.
It relaxes more when it's not tired, so when it's not wired.
Wired, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that is interesting. Thank you for that. Thanks for squeezing that one in the end. I know you've got clients to see.
And there's another way to go sleep at night is work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and then you sleep.
And that's what you do?
Yeah.
Probably longer. Thank you for joining us for this podcast, Rob.
Thanks. Nice to meet you again. And thanks, guys, for listening in. I'm here to help at any time. And feel free to phone up the clinic or speak to you personally.
So we've wrapped up the audio podcast, but here's what I'm going to do. Our Facebookers are still with us.
For Emily to phone me up and I'll speak to them.
Do you hear that, guys? Rob's happy for anyone to ring up and speak to them. I don't know, do you really want to commit to that? Because you might have a lot of people ring you up for a chat now.
I don't mind.
I
get along with you, see.
Yeah, Facebookers. No, you're not. You're working 12 hours a day. Facebookers, I'm going to show you the room again, in case you weren't with us at the start. So we're in Rob's clinic in South Molton Street. And I'm going to turn the camera around so you can get a good look at the tanks. There he is. There's Rob. This is the swanky clinic. So, I heard this tank here is a stronger tank. Is that true? You're getting in?
I'm getting in. I'll show you.
There we go. Yeah. Rob Pender, HBOT specialist in the HBOT tank. It's pretty big, isn't it? Have you ever had an athlete, maybe a basketball player who's too tall?
I've had the European heavyweight boxing champion in here.
European heavyweight boxing champion?
Yes.
You allowed to reveal any more information?
Yeah.
No.
People know who he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's been in there?
Yeah. And
Right.
the chambers are air conditioned as well.
Let me lean in. Air-conditioned chamber.
Air-conditioned chamber, and you see down there outside, we've got an air-conditioned unit. The room's air-conditioned, but the chambers themselves are air-conditioned.
Okay, I'm going to walk round here, show you the other tank. Well, Rob gets out of that one. There we go. One last look inside a tank. So you get shut in there for an hour, and you breathe about 97% oxygen.
97, yeah.
97% oxygen. And FYI, the air that we breathe normally is only 21%. So Rob, give us a wave, and I'll say bye-bye. Bye, Facebookers.
Bye.